If I told you that the world doesn't run only because of politicians, billionaires, or giant tech companies, the world actually runs because of normal people who wake up every morning and go to work. Truck drivers, restaurant staff, nurses, office workers, delivery drivers, factory workers, cashiers, mechanics, teachers. These are the people who keep markets running. These are the people who keep money circulating through the economy. Businesses survive because of their spending. And indirectly, governments collect taxes because of these people. Roads get built. Infrastructure keeps functioning. Technology companies grow. Even AI systems exist inside this same economy, which means if normal working people start becoming financially weak, then the effects won't stay limited to their personal lives. Slowly, the pressure would start being felt across the entire economy. Think about a basic economic loop. People work, they earn income. Then that same money goes back into the market through everyday life. Rent, groceries, restaurant, fuel, phone bills, shopping, subscriptions. And when millions of people continuously keep spending money, businesses grow, profits increase, new stores open, new projects begin, and then even more jobs get created. This is the cycle the modern American economy runs on. More than 170 million people in America are part of the workforce, and a huge portion of the U.S. economy depends on the spending of those normal middle-class workers. Now imagine a large business operation in America. Earlier, it needed around 500 employees for customer support, marketing, coding, report, and data analysis. Then, AI tools start improving rapidly. Now the same work, done faster, can be handled by only 150 or 200 people. For the business, this is financially beneficial. Lower salary costs, lower office expenses, and almost the same output. So naturally, hiring starts slowing down. Some teams become smaller, and this is where a deeper problem begins. Because those workers weren't just employees, they were also customers. They were the people shopping online, spending money in restaurants, paying monthly bills and subscriptions, financing cars, paying rent. If stable jobs slowly start disappearing, or salary growth starts weakening, then people naturally begin controlling their spending. Less eating out, delayed shopping, extra subscriptions get canceled. And when millions of people do this at the same time, the effects start becoming visible across the entire market. Businesses postpone expansion, new projects start slowing down, investors become cautious, funding becomes harder to get, and some businesses eventually shut down completely. And here, an important contradiction appears. AI companies themselves also depend on this same economy. OpenAI needs users and businesses that can afford monthly subscriptions. Nvidia needs companies that can afford expensive AI chips. Microsoft and Amazon need businesses that keep paying for cloud servers and AI tools, which means the AI industry can only continue growing when people and businesses inside the economy still have money. That's why the real concern isn't only about jobs. The bigger tension starts after that. If the system slowly begins needing fewer humans, then middle-class income starts coming under pressure, and when the middle class starts becoming financially weaker, the entire consumer economy starts slowing down. A modern economy does not run only by producing products. It runs when people are also able to buy those products. Factories, apps, restaurants, stores, streaming platforms, all of them ultimately depend on customers. The system doesn't only need efficient workers. The system also needs paying customers. And maybe that's why this situation feels unusual. In history, machines mostly replaced physical labor, but AI is gradually affecting mental and office-based work too. In 2021, Sam Altman wrote an essay called Moore's Law for Everything. In it, he was basically explaining one simple idea. Just like computers became more powerful and cheaper over time, AI could also dramatically reduce the cost of human work across many industries in the future. Things like customer support, basic coding, legal paperwork, data analysis, marketing content, which means companies would be able to do the same work in less time and with fewer employees. On the surface, this looks efficient, but his real concern wasn't efficiency. The concern was this: if most future productivity ends up under the control of AI systems and giant tech companies, then where would normal middle-class people stand economically? Because an economy doesn't run only on production. An economy runs when millions of people still have spending power. If human earning power starts weakening, then eventually the balance of the market also starts breaking down. And this is the context in which he talked about wealth redistribution. In simple terms, if machines start doing more work in the future and humans gradually end up with less income, then the system would have to rebalance itself somehow. Otherwise, productivity would increase, but society itself would start becoming financially unstable. Elon Musk has also said the same thing repeatedly in multiple interviews. According to him, AI will eventually affect a huge number of human jobs. That's why he discussed ideas like UBI, universal basic income.
And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income.
The basic idea was simple. If millions of people begin losing stable jobs in the future, then governments may have to provide people with a basic survival income, so the economy doesn't start breaking down completely. But the deeper problem begins after that. Government revenue mostly comes from taxes, and taxes primarily come from an active economy, from workers, from businesses, from consumer spending. In America, a huge portion of federal income taxes comes from salaried workers and businesses. If the workforce starts shrinking in the future, then government revenue would also also come under pressure. And then the question becomes even harder. If people themselves no longer have stable income, then how would governments financially sustain large-scale long-term support systems? And honestly, right now, no country really has a clear answer to that. In 2023, Geoffrey Hinton left Google. He is often called the godfather of AI because his work on neural networks and deep learning became part of the foundation of modern AI systems. After leaving Google, he openly expressed concerns. His concern wasn't that robots would destroy the world. He was concerned about speed. Technology was moving extremely fast, but laws, education systems, and governments were not adapting at the same speed. And maybe that's what made people uncomfortable, because the warning was not coming from an outsider. The warning was coming from one of the very people who helped build this technology themselves. In 2017, Bill Gates discussed an interesting idea. He suggested if automation replaces a human job, then theoretically, that automation should also be taxed. His main argument was this: today, governments receive massive tax revenue from workers and businesses, and that money is what keeps roads, hospitals, schools, and public systems running. But if companies increasingly start using automation in the future, while human workers continue decreasing, then the government's tax base would also begin shrinking. That's why Bill Gates' main point was this: if machines are creating economic value, then the system would eventually need some model where they also contribute back into it. But this is where the debate became complicated. Tech companies were naturally against this idea, because if extra taxes are added onto automation, then company profits would decrease, and global competition could also slow down. Some economists also raised another point. How exactly should automation even be defined? Is an AI chatbot automation? Is accounting software automation? Are Excel macros also automation? That's why the idea of a robot tax became messy on a practical level. And even today, no clear solution really exists. AI also has another major side: energy consumption. Running large AI systems requires massive data centers, thousands of advanced chips, 24/7 cooling system, continuous electricity supply. That's why companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are aggressively investing in power infrastructure and energy deals. Because AI is not just a software industry, it also depends heavily on electricity infrastructure. Training a large AI model can require so much electricity that it may equal the energy consumption of a small town over a short period of time. And this is why the future AI race will not only be a race for better software, it will also be an energy race. Power grids, semiconductors, water cooling systems, land infrastructure, which means even the most advanced digital technology is still ultimately dependent on the physical world. During the 1980s and 1990s, many factory towns across America slowly began collapsing, especially in Rust Belt regions. Factories started moving overseas, manufacturing jobs began disappearing, and many communities became economically weak. The problem wasn't only income loss. The problem was that entire local economies started weakening. When a large factory shuts down, it doesn't only affect workers. Restaurants in that area get affected, local shops get affected, the housing market gets affected, small businesses get affected, and slowly the entire town starts feeling financially hollow. After this period, opioid addiction, alcoholism, and depression sharply increased across many American industrial regions. This wasn't some random theory. Documented social decline was also observed after real economic decline. Around 2015 to 2016, economists Ann Case and Angus Deaton published major research about America. In it, they used a term: deaths of despair. The focus of the research was that suicide, alcohol abuse, and drug overdoses were increasing at an unusually fast rate among some American working-class groups. And the researchers argued this: long-term economic instability and hopelessness were also becoming major factors behind that trend. Which means when people begin feeling that their future is unstable, the impact doesn't only hit their bank account, it also affects mental health. It also affects social stability. People often say, governments can't control AI. But reality is a little different. Throughout history, governments have regulated multiple powerful technologies. Nuclear technology was regulated. Human cloning was heavily restricted. Crypto exchanges were controlled in multiple countries. In 2024, the European Union passed the EU AI Act. It is considered one of the world's first major AI regulations. High-risk AI systems, like hiring AI, facial recognition, and medical decision systems were placed under stricter rule. But the real problem is this: AI is not only a technology issue, it is also global competition. America, China, and Europe all want AI leadership. No country wants to fall behind economically, and that is why governments are stuck in a strange position. Publicly, they also have to talk about safety, while privately, they also want to win the AI race. This contradiction is why regulation feels slow and confusing. And honestly, in my opinion, if AI genuinely starts creating dangerous levels of social damage in the future, then governments may eventually begin taking harder actions too. History has already shown this before. For example, China heavily restricted multiple tech platforms and crypto activities when it felt control over the system was weakening. But the AI issue is even more complicated, because open source models can spread globally through the internet. One country may ban it, another may continue it. That's why full control feels extremely difficult in practice. And maybe this raises another uncomfortable question: where does the real value of money actually come from? A paper note itself is not valuable. It has value because it can be exchanged for for real things: food, electricity, fuel, services, products. But imagine this. What if a huge part of the economy starts slowing down? Businesses begin shutting down. Production begins collapse. Supply chains begin breaking apart. Then eventually the problem would no longer remain only about jobs. The question would also become this: if goods and services in the market themselves become unstable, then how much real value would money still have? History has shown this many times during wars and economic collapses. In some countries, inflation became so extreme that people started valuing food, fuel, and medicines more than cash itself. In extreme situations, real value often begins shifting toward physical necessity: food, water, energy, land, not numbers on a banking app screen. And maybe that's why this discussion is not only about AI. It's about the system itself, where human value and economic value have remained deeply connected. What do you think? If AI genuinely starts replacing most human work in the future, then how would society's structure change? Would governments be able to control it? Or would the economy move toward a completely new model? And the most important question: if machines eventually begin handling the majority of production, then what would remain as the source of human value?